The first human voice that reached the stars was a song. The first voice that came back was a warning. It came from a drifting probe near Pluto, its surface cracked, half melted. When scientists pulled the data, they found only 6 words recorded in a broken human voice. Don't answer them. They're not friendly. No one believed it. For decades, humans sent more signals, more greetings, more hope. They dreamed of meeting new worlds, new friends. But in the Black Sea of space, someone was already listening, someone who didn't come for peace. In the year 2314, the Zarketh Dominion appeared without lights, without words. Their ships blotted out the stars like moving shadows. At first they didn't shoot, they only watched. From orbit, they scanned every human city, every ship, every heartbeat. And when they finally spoke, their message was cold and simple. Your species expands without permission. It must stop. Then the sky burned. Commander Reyes Carter stood on the command deck of the Valiant as alarms screamed. Dozens of red dots filled the radar. They were everywhere. Above Earth, around the moon, even near Mars. The lieutenant beside him whispered, "Sir, there are too many." Reyes's voice was steel. "Then we fight until there are none." The first blast struck Luna Base 1. From Earth, people saw a second sun rise and die in silence. 2 million gone in one heartbeat. Panic spread. Governments shouted orders. Scientists screamed for answers. But the aliens didn't talk again. They just kept coming. By the 3rd day, 3 human colonies were dust. Ships vanished mid-flight. No demands, no negotiations, only extermination, and still, humanity refused to kneel. Deep beneath the ruined surface of Mars, survivors gathered. Soldiers, engineers, miners, ordinary people with nothing left to lose. Among them was Sergeant Nova Kane, face streaked with soot, voice steady as iron. "They think we're weak because we cry. Let's show them what we do after tears." Beside her, Dr. Eli Cross tapped on a cracked terminal. He had intercepted alien code from the wreckage. The symbols twisted across the screen like living light. He smiled faintly. "They call us primitive. They forgot curiosity built our world. Every surviving outpost answered Earth's call. Every ship, damaged or not, moved to one single point, Jupiter Defense Line. When the Zarketh fleet reached Jupiter, they expected surrender. Instead, they found silence, then heat signatures from over 300 human ships, built from scrap and rage. Mining freighters turned into missile carriers, cargo haulers welded with railguns, even passenger liners armed with plasma torches. Commander Reyes stood before his crew. His armor was dented, his hands shaking, but his voice carried through every channel. "We were explorers once. They turned us into warriors. Let's show them the difference." The battle began. Alien lasers sliced through metal like paper, but humans fought dirty. They used asteroids as shields, ice fragments as mirrors, and old satellites as traps. When ammo ran out, they rammed ships head-on. Every destroyed human craft took 2 enemies with it. Nova's squad launched from the Valiant in small fighters. She whispered a prayer to the families lost on Titan and fired into the storm of plasma. Her engines screamed as she dove through enemy fire. "You wanted to see human courage?" She growled, "Here it is." Her fighter hit an alien cruiser's reactor. The explosion lit the dark like sunrise. Down on Earth, people watched through broken satellites. They didn't see defeat. They saw thousands of human lights burning across the sky, each one a promise that humanity would not disappear quietly. Children in bunkers whispered, "That's our army up there." Old soldiers saluted the burning horizon, and somewhere in the chaos, Reyes's voice echoed through open comms. "No surrender. No retreat. Humanity stands." By dawn, half of the alien armada was gone. The rest fled into the void, leaving behind twisted wrecks and silence. For the first time in history, the Zarketh Dominion had been forced to retreat, but victory came at a terrible cost. Half the human fleet was destroyed. Mars burned. Earth's orbit was filled with the bones of ships. Reyes looked out from the shattered bridge of the Valiant. The stars flickered through smoke and debris. He whispered to no one, "You came here thinking we were soft. That was your first mistake." A nearby officer approached with a trembling voice. "Sir, we've intercepted a new signal, stronger than before. It's coming from beyond Neptune." Reyes closed his eyes. He knew what that meant. This wasn't the end of the war. This was only the beginning. He turned toward his surviving crew. "Tell Earth Command," he said. "Prepare Project Revenant." "Sir?" the officer asked. Reyes stared into the cold stars. "If they want a lesson in what humans are, we'll teach them." The screen fades to black. Then white letters appear. "Humans don't start wars. They finish them." The war should have ended that night. The stars above Earth were quiet again, but the silence was not peace. It was the silence of a wound still bleeding. Half of the Terran fleet drifted like broken ghosts above the planet. Radio chatter had stopped. Only static and the soft hum of dying engines filled the void. Commander Reyes Carter stood on the bridge of the Valiant, staring at the holographic map of the solar system. Each red mark was a lost ship. Each one had a name. Each one had faces he could not forget. He clenched his fist. "They thought we'd break," he muttered. "They don't understand humans don't break. We rebuild." Down on Mars, the survivors dug into the red dust. Their shelters were half-buried domes made from wreckage. Inside one of them, Sergeant Nova Kane sat near a cracked display screen, her hands trembling. The last image of her family played on loop, a message from before Titan burned. Her voice was dry but sharp. "If the Zarkeths want fire, we'll show them what it feels like." Dr. Eli Cross entered, his coat stained with ash and machine oil. He carried a metal drive glowing faint blue. "Nova," he said softly, "I found something." She looked up, eyes hard. "Another code?" "More than that," Eli replied. "It's their language, and maybe their weakness." For days, Eli worked inside the underground lab with what was left of the science team. He played alien transmissions again and again, slowing them down until patterns formed. The sounds were like whispers and thunder mixed together. And then he heard it, a repeating tone buried deep inside their signal. Not words, coordinates. He ran to Reyes with the data. "Sir, they're not retreating. They're regrouping. Here, beyond Neptune." Reyes studied the glowing dots. "Their command fleet. And something else," Eli said quietly. "Energy readings I've never seen before." Reyes didn't blink. Then we hit them before they hit us. The meeting room filled with the remaining commanders, half soldiers, half engineers. They looked tired, hungry, and angry. Reyes stood at the center. "We call it Project Revenant," he said. "We'll build a ship out of their wreckage. We'll use their tech against them. We'll show them what it means to fight humans on their own terms." A silence followed. Then Nova spoke. "You're saying we become monsters to beat monsters?" Reyes looked at her. "No. We become what they fear most, adaptable. And with that, the spark of revenge was lit. For 3 weeks, hidden deep under the red sands of Mars, the humans worked. They scavenged alien parts, melted them with human steel, and created something new, something no one had ever seen. The hull shimmered like liquid metal, shaped from Zarketh armor, but carved by human hands. Its engines were loud, alive, and angry. When it was finished, they named it the Revenant, because humans always come back. Nova walked through the ship's corridors, running her hand along the smooth walls. She could feel a heartbeat in the metal. Eli smiled beside her. "It's strange," he said. "We're building revenge with pieces of the enemy." Nova nodded. "Good. Let them feel their own fear." But the Zarkeths were not idle. Beyond Neptune, their High Commander Vorak watched holograms of the human fleet. He spoke in a voice like grinding metal, primitive, emotional, yet dangerous. An officer bowed low. "Shall we end them, Supreme One?" Vorak's eyes glowed silver. "Not yet. Let them rebuild. Hope makes them slower prey." He did not realize that hope was humanity's fuel. When the Revenant launched, it rose from the Martian dust like a phoenix made of fire and steel. Every survivor cheered as its engines roared to life. Reyes's voice echoed through every speaker. "Today we don't fight for survival. We fight for memory, for every city they burned and every name they erased." The ship turned toward the dark edge of the system. Behind it, the sun reflected on Mars's red surface, like blood that refused to dry. As they neared Neptune, strange signals began to echo through space. Ghostly whispers, static mixed with human voices. Nova frowned. "Is that us?" Eli checked the instruments. "It's a copy of our old transmissions." "Someone's playing them back," A trap. Suddenly, alarms blared. Blue light exploded across the blackness. Zarketh ships unfolded from hidden space like shadows coming alive. Hundreds of them. The Revenant was surrounded. Reyes stood tall, calm as ice. So, they were waiting. Nova tightened her gloves. Then they'll regret it. The first blast shook the ship. Metal screamed. The hull glowed red-hot but held strong. Human gunners fired back with their new hybrid weapons. Alien ships burst like glass in a storm. The Revenant spun through the chaos, faster than anything built before. Eli shouted, "Commander!" Their flagship? Centergrid. Reyes saw it. A massive structure twice the size of any city. He smiled coldly. Let's send them a message. He opened a comm channel to the alien fleet. His voice echoed through every speaker in their language, translated from Eli's code. You started this war thinking humans were weak. He paused as explosions lit the background. Now you'll see what we become when we're angry. Then he ordered, fire. The Revenant's main cannon erupted with light. The shockwave tore through the alien line. Even in the vacuum of space, the destruction looked like thunder. When the smoke cleared, only wrecks remained. But deep in the debris field, sensors picked up something massive, something not Zarketh. A new ship, darker, silent, rising from behind the shadow of Neptune. Eli's voice trembled. Commander, that's not their fleet. That's something else. Reyes narrowed his eyes. Then we've just woken up something bigger. The screen fades to black. A voice echoes. They wanted a war. We gave them humanity. Space was silent. Too silent. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that comes right before a scream. The human ship, Revenant, drifted in the shadow of Neptune. Its black hull cracked, smoke leaking into the void. Inside, red warning lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Commander Reyes Carter gripped the rail, blood running down his arm. Around him, the bridge crew fought to keep the ship alive. Engines are overheating. Shields collapsing. We've got incoming signatures, multiple! Reyes didn't move. His eyes stayed on the screen showing the new threat. It wasn't Zarketh ships this time. It was something older. Larger. From the darkness, a shape unfolded. Smooth, silent, and glowing faint white. Not built, grown. It looked like a living creature fused with metal. Eli cross-whispered, "That's not Zarketh design, it's something ancient." Nova Kane's voice cut through the static. Sharp and calm. Whatever it is, it just locked onto us. The alien Leviathan opened like a flower, releasing tendrils of blue light that wrapped around the Revenant. Alarms screamed. Power died. For a heartbeat, humanity's last hope was drifting dead in space. Reyes slammed his fist on the console. "Eli! Options! If we can't break the lock," Eli said, "we'll be pulled inside that thing. And if we can, then we run." Nova grinned through the smoke. Sounds human enough. She strapped into the weapons chair. "Give me 5 seconds of power, just 5. Eli rerouted the emergency core, sparks flying. Reyes nodded once. "All weapons. Focus on the tendrils. Fire on my mark. 1, 2. Mark." The Revenant came alive like a wounded beast. Cannons lit the dark. Explosions tore through the glowing vines. The ship jolted free, spinning wildly. Engines screamed back to life. They were free, but surrounded again. Dozens of Zarketh cruisers had arrived, drawn by the energy flare. Reyes' voice stayed cold, full burn. "We're punching through." Eli looked terrified. "That's suicide, Commander." "No," Reyes said. "It's an escape." The Revenant dove straight toward the enemy line. Lasers flashed. Missiles streaked. The ship weaved between explosions, its new hybrid armor glowing red-hot. Nova fired back with everything she had. Left wing down. Rear thrusters failing. Still, they pushed forward. Every blast, every shockwave only fueled them more. Inside the chaos, Nova caught a glimpse through the viewport, an alien pilot's face, pale and shocked. Humans weren't supposed to fly like this. They weren't supposed to survive. But survival was humanity's oldest trick. Minutes felt like hours. Then, through the burning wrecks, they saw it, a narrow gap between 2 shattered moons. A gravity tunnel. Dangerous, unstable. Perfect, Eli shouted. "Commander, that corridor isn't mapped." "It could collapse," Reyes smirked. "Then let's hope it collapses after we pass." He pushed the throttle to maximum. The Revenant shot forward, engines howling. Alien ships followed, firing relentlessly. The tunnel twisted, pulling ships apart with violent force. One Zarketh cruiser broke in half. Another vanished in a flash of gravity fire. Reyes's voice rose above the chaos. "Hold together, you beautiful piece of metal, hold!" The Revenant burst out the other side like a comet, flames trailing behind. Behind them, the tunnel collapsed, crushing the alien fleet. Silence returned, this time real, earned silence. Inside, the crew cheered weakly, their faces covered in soot and sweat. Nova collapsed into her chair, laughing breathlessly. "We made it." Eli exhaled, eyes wide. "We escaped. But to where?" Reyes looked at the stars. Out here there were no planets, no beacons, only blackness and cold light. "Anywhere that isn't theirs," he said. He turned to Eli. "How long until the engines fail completely?" 8 hours if we're lucky. Then we use them wisely. 8 hours later, the Revenant rested inside the hollow of a dead asteroid. The crew worked in silence. Eli repaired the navigation array using melted alien circuits. Nova patched armor plates with her bare hands. Every human aboard looked exhausted, but none looked defeated. Outside, the universe was quiet. Too quiet again. Reyes sat alone in the dark control room, recording a message for Earth. His voice was low but steady. "This is Commander Reyes Carter of the Revenant. The war has changed. We've found something beyond the Zarketh Dominion, something older, stronger, watching both sides. If we don't return, remember this, humanity didn't fall. We adapted." He ended the recording, staring into the endless night. "Let's see what else is hiding in the dark." A sudden flicker appeared on the radar. 1 dot, then another, then 20. They weren't Zarketh ships. Different shapes, different energy. Eli's face went pale. "Commander, those aren't enemies. They're human." A fleet, small, scarred, but flying Earth colors, approached slowly. The radio crackled with a familiar voice. "Revenant, this is Captain Mira Thorne of the Aegis. We received your signal. You're not alone anymore." Nova smiled for the first time in days. Guess hope does travel fast. Reyes allowed himself one breath of relief. "Captain Thorne." "Good to hear a friendly voice." "Same here," she replied. "But brace yourselves, Commander. We intercepted Zarketh transmissions. They're calling something they call the Devourer. And it's coming this way." The bridge fell silent again. Reyes turned toward the stars, eyes hard. "Then we run no more. We fight together." Outside the asteroid, human ships aligned beside the Revenant, their lights blinking in unity, tiny sparks against the dark ocean of space. The war wasn't over. It was evolving, and now humanity wasn't just surviving. They were becoming something new. White text fades across the black screen. "They can destroy our worlds, but not our will." The first sunrise on Mars after the battle was red, not from dust, but from fire. The sky burned with the light of wrecked ships falling from orbit. People called it the dawn of vengeance. Commander Reyes Carter stood on the platform of the rebuilt base, his armor scarred, his eyes older than his years. Behind him, rows of soldiers and engineers waited, silent. Before him, the horizon glowed with the reflection of human anger. He spoke softly, yet every ear heard. "They took our worlds. They broke our homes. Now we take back the stars." No one clapped. They just nodded. The war had burned all noise from them. Far below the surface, in the underground hangar, the hybrid warship Revenant rested like a sleeping dragon. Around it, men and women worked without pause, welding alien metal, fusing human circuits, painting a new emblem across its hull. A white phoenix rising from black flame, Operation Vengeance had begun. The plan was simple but impossible. Strike the Zarketh Dominion's central command fortress before they unleashed the Devourer, a world-eater that could swallow a planet's core in hours. The humans had 7 days. Inside the strategy chamber, a hologram of the solar system shimmered above the table. Dr. Eli Cross adjusted his glasses, exhaustion clear in his voice. "Their fortress is here, hidden inside Neptune's rings. It's shielded by gravity fields. No normal ship can reach it." Reyes folded his arms. "Good thing the Revenant isn't normal." Sergeant Nova Kane leaned forward, her tone sharp. "What's the catch? If we miss the timing, Eli said. "The rings will tear us apart. One mistake. Instant death." Nova smirked. So, same as always. As preparations continued, the crew carved messages into the ship's inner walls. Names of lost families, burned cities, promises of return. Every letter became fuel for the fight ahead. No speeches, no songs, only purpose. At night, Nova sat alone in the observation deck, staring at the planet below. Eli joined her quietly. "You ever get tired of this view?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, because one day when this is over, I want to see it without smoke." Their silence said everything. 3 days later, the fleet assembled, the Revenant, the Aegis, and 20 smaller ships built from wrecks and hope. They looked mismatched, but together they were beautiful. A fleet born from pain. Reyes addressed them through the main channel. "This isn't about revenge anymore. This is about warning the galaxy. Never, ever mess with humans." The message echoed across every speaker, then the engines roared to life. The journey to Neptune's rings was silent. Every pilot knew the odds. Every mind replayed memories of the first attack. Families lost, friends gone. But fear had no room left in them. Only focus remained. When the fleet reached the edge of the rings, the view was haunting. Billions of ice shards spinning like diamonds around a blue ghost planet. Buried deep inside was the enemy fortress, invisible until radar pinged its metal heart. Eli whispered, "There it is." Reyes's jaw tightened. "Lock targets. We end this tonight." Then the sky exploded. Dozens of Zarketh warships decloaked, surrounding them in perfect formation. It was a trap. Again, Nova cursed under her breath. They knew we were coming. "Then let's surprise them anyway," Reyes said, calm as ice. The Revenant's weapons came alive. The first blast cut through an enemy cruiser. The second vaporized 3 more. Human ships darted through the chaos like wolves among giants. Inside the fortress, alien commanders panicked. Humans weren't supposed to fight this deep into their space. They weren't supposed to win, but the battle turned brutal fast. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 human vessels burned. The Aegis lost power, drifting helplessly. Nova shouted orders, guiding damaged fighters back toward the Revenant. Eli's screen blinked red. "Commander, they're charging the Devourer weapon." Reyes turned. "How long?" 5 minutes. 5 minutes until Earth became dust. Reyes exhaled slowly. "Then we take their gun, before it fires." He ordered the Revenant straight into the heart of the enemy fortress. Inside the alien structure, blue lightning flickered across the walls. The ship scraped metal corridors, engines roaring. Every impact shook bones, but no one stopped. They reached the weapon core, a sphere of swirling energy larger than any city. Eli stared in awe. "It's powered by the same ancient tech we saw near Neptune, but weaponized. Can we shut it down?" Nova asked. "No, but maybe we can steal it." Reyes smiled, the kind of smile that meant madness. "Do it." Alarm screamed. Alien troops flooded the chamber. Gunfire echoed through the halls. Nova fought like fury itself, her armor blackened, her rifle glowing red from heat. Eli worked fast, linking the alien power to the Revenant's reactor. "Almost there." "Make it faster," Reyes shouted, holding off incoming fire. A final surge of light blinded everyone. Then, the fortress went dark. Eli fell back, gasping. "We've taken control." Reyes opened comms. "All ships, retreat to safe distance. The fortress is ours." Outside, the humans watched as the massive alien base turned, its weapons now facing the Zarketh fleet. Reyes's voice thundered across space. "You use this weapon to destroy worlds. Now watch what happens when humans pull the trigger." He fired. The fortress unleashed a beam so bright it outshone the sun. The Zarketh fleet vanished in white fire. The shockwave tore across Neptune's rings, scattering ice like rain. Silence followed. Again. But this time, it was victory. Inside the Revenant, the crew stood quietly, watching the stars return to stillness. Nova lowered her weapon. "Is it over?" Reyes stared at the dying light. "No, not yet. They'll send more." But this was the message. He looked straight into the camera, recording his words for every world to hear. To anyone out there watching, humanity fights back. We remember, we adapt. We avenge. The screen fades to black. Text appears. When you burn humanity's home, don't sleep near the stars. The universe had gone quiet again. Too quiet. Not because the war had ended, but because even the stars seemed afraid of what humanity might do next. After the destruction of the Zarketh fortress, no one expected the humans to survive. They didn't just survive, they adapted. They changed. And now, every world was whispering one phrase in fear. The humans are coming. Commander Reyes Carter stood inside the new war room aboard the Revenant, watching a hologram of the galaxy. Human colonies glowed like small embers across the stars, fragile but alive. He spoke softly as if to himself. We burned once. Never again. Dr. Eli Cross, now wearing the patch of chief strategist, entered with a datapad full of new intelligence. The Zarketh forces have split, Commander. Half are retreating. The rest are hiding. Reyes turned slowly. Hiding? Good, let them run. We'll teach them why fear is a human invention. Nova Kane, now promoted to captain, smirked. Revenge isn't enough anymore. It's time to rebuild the human way. Reyes nodded. Exactly. We don't conquer. We endure, but not everyone agreed. Across the scattered colonies, anger still burned brighter than hope. Millions demanded the total destruction of the Zarketh race. An eye for a galaxy, they said. On the colony of New Kyoto, human commanders debated. Some wanted peace, others wanted annihilation. The meeting turned into shouting, until a young engineer stood and spoke, her voice shaking but firm. They came to erase us, and we built cities out of their wreckage. That's the human way. We don't just survive and we create. The room went silent. In that moment, humanity remembered who they were. Far across space, deep in the ruins of the destroyed Zarketh fortress, something stirred. An alien scientist, half-burned, sent a trembling transmission. To the High Council, humans have changed. They use emotion as logic, chaos as strategy. You cannot predict them, the council leader hissed. Then we erased them faster, but it was too late. The humans were already preparing something new, something terrifying in its simplicity. They called it Project Phoenix. It wasn't a weapon. It was an idea, a network linking every surviving human mind through neural resonance. Each person became part of a greater intelligence. Thoughts connected, emotions synchronized. For the first time, humanity moved as one. Eli explained it best. They wanted to fight a species. Instead, they awakened a civilization. Weeks passed. The first Phoenix fleet launched. Ships built from alien cores, human steel, and something deeper, hope fused with fury. Their hulls glowed gold under the light of distant suns, engraved with human poetry, laughter, and the names of those who had fallen. Nova stood on the command deck beside Reyes. You ever think we've gone too far? She asked quietly. He smiled faintly. Too far is where humans start doing miracles. The Zarkeths struck again, this time with desperation. Thousands of drones, dark as smoke, poured toward the human fleet. But the humans didn't panic. They sang. Every ship broadcasted a single frequency, the heartbeat of Earth. That rhythmic pulse confused the alien targeting systems. Lasers missed. Drones collided. It was chaos. Beautiful human chaos, Reyes ordered. Activate resonance. Suddenly, the Phoenix fleet moved as one being. Every pilot saw through every other pilot's eyes. Every mind worked together like a living storm. The aliens fired again. This time, humans didn't dodge. They turned the blasts into power, redirecting the energy into their own weapons. Nova grinned. We used to run from them. Now we use their attacks as fuel. Reyes laughed for the first time in months. That's the human way. The battle became legend. In 1 hour, the Zarketh Dominion lost everything, not because humans were stronger, but because they were unpredictable. The aliens fought with numbers. Humans fought with heart. By the end, the alien flagship sent a desperate message. You cannot win forever. You are fragile, Reyes replied calmly. Maybe. But our fragility is what makes us infinite. He cut the transmission and fired. The alien flagship vanished in white light. Silence returned once more to the stars. But this silence was different. It wasn't fear. It was peace. Eli watched the wreckage drift into the distance. Do you think this is it? He asked. Nova looked at him. No, this is never it. We'll explore again, love again, fight again. That's what makes us human. Reyes smiled faintly, staring at the horizon. They thought emotion was weakness. But emotion built empires, saved lives, and turned ashes into light. He turned toward his crew. "Write it down," he said softly. "The story of how we almost died, and learned to be better." The screen fades to darkness. Then white words appear, glowing like a promise. They called it rage. We called it humanity. The transmission came in the middle of the night shift. No voice. No signal ID, just 3 words repeated again and again. "Don't go deeper." Commander Reyes Carter woke instantly. By the time he reached the bridge of the Revenant, the message was already spreading across every human frequency. Dr. Eli Cross played it again, his face pale. "It's not from the Zarketh," he whispered. "Then who?" Reyes asked. Eli looked up slowly. "Us. It's human." 3 hours later, the truth began to surface. Hidden beneath the icy crust of a dead planet near Pluto, a massive structure pulsed faint light. Readings showed it was older than both the Zarketh and humanity combined, maybe older than Earth itself. The energy it emitted matched the same signature as the Devourer, the weapon the aliens tried to unleash. Nova Kane crossed her arms, eyes sharp. "So this thing. This is where it all started." Eli nodded. "The Zarketh found it first. They thought it was a weapon from their ancestors. But it's not. It's a message. A message? Or a warning." Reyes's voice turned hard. "We find it. We open it. We end this." The Revenant descended into the frozen canyons of Pluto's shadow. Snowstorms raged across the planet's surface like ghosts. Buried under ice lay something enormous, a metallic sphere half a mile wide, humming softly like a heartbeat. The closer they got, the louder it became. Eli stared at the readings. "Commander, the frequency matches the Phoenix network." Reyes frowned. "That's impossible." "It's not," Eli said quietly. "It's calling to us." Nova's voice came through the comms. "Maybe we shouldn't answer this one." But they did. As soon as the Revenant scanners made contact, the sphere opened. A blinding beam shot out, striking the ship. Every light on board flickered. Every system went silent. And then a voice, calm, ancient, and human. "Children of Earth, you were not meant to find this." Everyone froze. The voice wasn't coming from outside. It came from inside their minds. Eli's hands shook. "It's telepathic. Or digital. Or both." Nova gritted her teeth. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "We are what remains of those who came before you. We made the stars safe once. Then we made a mistake." Reyes stepped forward. "What kind of mistake?" The voice paused, long enough for the crew to feel the weight of history. "We tried to erase war itself. We built a weapon that could reset evolution on any planet where conflict began. We called it Extinction Protocol." The bridge fell silent. Eli's face went white. "You mean this thing can wipe entire species?" "It already has," the voice replied. "The Zarketh were not conquerors. They were survivors of our first failure." Nova stared at the frozen surface outside. "So we've been killing victims this whole time." Reyes's fists clenched. "Then why attack us?" "Because they thought you had reactivated the protocol," the voice said. "And now you have." Suddenly, alarms exploded across the Revenant. Power spikes everywhere. The sphere beneath them began to rise, splitting the ice apart. Columns of light shot into space. Eli shouted, "It's charging something!" Reyes barked, "Shut it down!" Nova ran to the console, rerouting power. Eli's hands flew across controls. "I can't stop it. It's linked to us now through the Phoenix network." Reyes slammed his fist down. "Then we cut ourselves off!" "If we do that," Eli warned, "we lose everything. Communication, fleet coordination, maybe even our memories." Reyes met his gaze. Then better to forget than to end the universe. Nova took her seat, typing fast. "I'm isolating the Phoenix grid." 30 seconds! Outside, the alien sphere pulsed faster. Blue light became red. The surface cracked open, revealing a glowing core, a star inside ice. Eli's voice broke through static. "Reyes, if it fires, it won't just destroy us. It'll wipe every living thing from orbit to Jupiter." "Then stop talking," Reyes growled, "and pull the plug." The ship shook violently. Metal screamed. Every panel sparked, and then silence. For a moment, the crew thought they had failed. Then the red light faded. The sphere dimmed, and the stars above grew still again. They had stopped it, but at a cost. Eli slumped against the console, breathing hard. "Commander, I think we just erased the Phoenix network. Every connected mind, gone," Nova's voice cracked. "You mean half our fleet just went dark?" "Yes, they'll remember nothing. No war, no vengeance, no unity." Reyes closed his eyes. "Then maybe that's mercy." He looked at the silent planet below. "We came to end a war." "We almost ended life itself," Eli whispered. "What now?" Reyes's answer was quiet. "We rebuild the hard way, the human way." Hours later, as the Revenant drifted through the frozen light of Pluto's dawn, the message repeated once more across their comms, the same ancient voice, now fading. To those who survive, remember this: every war ends the same way, not when one side wins, but when both remember why they began. Nova stood beside Reyes, looking at the glowing ice below. "We stopped the weapon, Commander." "But something tells me this isn't over." Reyes nodded slowly. "It never is. Not for humans." The camera pans to space, the cold, endless silence stretching forever. Then faintly, across the stars, a new signal appears. This time not a warning, but a heartbeat. The screen fades to black. White text appears. They tried to erase war. Humanity taught them how to survive it. At first, there was only darkness. Then one heartbeat. Soft, steady, human. Deep inside the wrecked ship Revenant, the lights flickered back to life. Commander Reyes Carter opened his eyes to the quiet hum of power returning. The last thing he remembered was shutting down the Phoenix network and saving the galaxy from the extinction protocol. He had expected death. Instead, he woke to silence. Dr. Eli Cross lay beside a cracked console, his hands shaking. "We're still here," he whispered. Nova Kane pushed herself up, blood on her cheek, voice rough but alive. "Then that means the universe still needs us." Outside the viewport, Pluto's ice glowed faint gold under a distant sun. But there, beyond the frozen horizon, a new dawn was rising. Days passed as the Revenant drifted slowly toward the inner system. Half the fleet had lost memory after the network shutdown. They didn't remember the war, the losses, or the fire that had shaped them. They only knew one thing. The humans on the Revenant had brought them home. Eli recorded every moment, his voice soft like a journal. History will forget the details, but it will remember the feeling. The day humanity looked into extinction and said no. When they reached Earth orbit, the world below looked different. Cities were rebuilding. Smoke was gone. Forests had begun to grow where ash once fell. Children played under blue skies, unaware that the stars above had almost died for them. Rhea stood at the viewport, eyes wet but unbroken. "We stopped the weapon," he said quietly, "but we also stopped what made us connected. Maybe that's the test, to see if we can stay united without the machine." Nova smiled faintly. "Humans don't need a network to care. We just need each other." Weeks later, a message reached Earth, not from humans, but from the Zarketh Dominion. Their once terrifying tone was gone. Now it was calm, almost humble. "To the people of Earth," the alien envoy said, "we fought out of fear. You fought out of love. We see now which one endures. For the first time in galactic history, humans and Zarkeths spoke without weapons. They shared data, medicine, music, and silence. Peace didn't come easy, but it came honestly." On the 10th anniversary of the final battle, a ceremony was held on Mars. A new monument rose, not to victory, but to survival. Carved in both human and alien script, it read, "In the coldest storm, seek the warmest heart." Reyes, now older, stood before the monument with Nova and Eli. Crowds from every world gathered, humans, Zarkeths, and others who had once feared them both. Eli whispered, "It's strange. We started with blood and ended with a bridge." Nova touched the engraved words. "Maybe that's what rising means, not climbing higher, but lifting others with you." That night, under Mars's red sky, Reyes made his final recording for the Galactic Archive. His voice was steady, his tone proud. To whoever finds this centuries from now, we were never the strongest, never the fastest, but we were the most stubborn. They tried to erase us. We turned erasure into evolution. We learned that hope is the sharpest weapon, and mercy the hardest choice. He looked up at the stars, now peaceful again. Remember this: humanity didn't rise because of power. We rose because we refused to stay down. As the years passed, humans spread beyond their old scars. New ships carried explorers, poets, and dreamers to distant worlds. The Phoenix Fleet became a fleet of teachers and healers. Children born after the war looked to the stars not with fear, but curiosity. Among the Zarketh, human stories became sacred lessons. They spoke of Reyes Carter, the man who fought the sky itself, of Nova Cain, whose fire never went out, of Eli Cross, who decoded the language of gods and turned it into peace, but most of all, they spoke of humanity, the species that refused extinction. 1 century later, long after Reyes and his crew were gone, their monument still stood on Mars. Pilgrims from 100 species came to touch its surface. And when the sunlight hit the stone just right, faint letters glowed across the top. The final message Reyes had hidden in the code of its design: we are dust that dreams. Fire that forgives, flesh that remembers. The camera pans out from Mars, showing the galaxy reborn. New stars shimmer like sparks of human persistence. A narrator's voice, calm, warm, timeless, speaks. They feared us for our anger. They envied us for our heart. But in the end, they understood. Humanity doesn't just survive the storm. Humanity becomes the light after it. The screen fades slowly to black. Then, white text appears. When humans rise, the universe learns what hope looks like. The end. HFY Sci-Fi.